I've always been very good at expressing myself. As humans, we all have a masculine energy and a feminine energy. And what this means is the feminine is to go into yourself and return back to yourself. And the masculine is to simply express yourself. So it's this like perfect balance and dance of going into yourself, feeling great spirit, and receiving downloads from higher realms, feeling your feelings, feeling what's coming up, going into yourself, going into your body and in your home. And then there's a phase where you push out and express. And we're in a healthy balanced state when we're doing both. And there's no difference between the masculine and feminine, as we are all the ocean doing the same thing. So I've always been good at expressing myself. I've always been very good at my masculine. And I actually shut down my feminine and returning to my home because I didn't feel safe there. I built up mechanisms as a young girl to protect myself and not go there and to always express myself. So maybe there's been a little bit of an imbalance. But, you know, I've always had a voice. I've always wanted to express myself. I've always wanted to be the protector. I've always wanted to protect things and be the justice fighter and stick up for what's right. Especially, like watching unfair things happen to people, whether it's people in my family or at school. I never wanted to see anyone be treated poorly. And so, because of childhood wounds, I really built up this mechanism to protect myself and to prove to myself and to others how strong I am. So I had this built up mechanism to have a facade that no one could fuck with me. Like I'm strong, like I'm not afraid to speak up. I'm strong in my body. I have muscles. I'm strong. I could hold my own, kind of this like tough warrior front. And what I'm realizing now is that it was because I was trying to prove my worth. I was trying to prove my value by putting on this front. I was trying to fight for something that I didn't have to fight for. Because if I didn't work out, if I didn't, present myself in a certain way to where I felt strong and empowered, I didn't have self-worth. So I've grown up to be a gym rat. I've been a little meathead my whole life. I started with basketball. Well, I was in ballet first, and then I effing hated the tights and prancing around. So I got into basketball and I loved it. I loved the exhilaration and just how everywhere it was. And then just sports in general, right? And then I got into gymnastics and I loved working out and I loved testing my body and moving my body and showing myself how strong I am and capable I am. And I loved seeing results, right? Very, very masculine. And I used to work out in my room like a freak. Like I would just be like blasting techno, working out in my room, doing sit-ups and push-ups, and I loved the feeling. It made me feel so good. I loved seeing my muscles, and it was almost addicting. And then at one point in my life, in my early 20s, I was CrossFitting and I was working out at like the local Gold's Gym or whatever, and I loved it. I loved it. It really fed my ego, in fact. Because it fed the idea and the storyline of no one can mess with me. And so I'm talking about this with you guys because I have now recently come into a place since finding more of a healing with my feminine and with returning to me. And since finding this wholeness within myself and this healthy wholeness that I've healed, I've done some healing around the return home and in my home. And I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to push to prove anything. I don't care to work out to prove that I can get a muscly body. Like, I know here in Utah it's such a trend to like have a certain body, get a big butt, and like look hot. Like, it's such a thing. And it's such a it's the energy behind it is to feel good about your worth, about the worth. When I say you, I mean the collective, their worth, and to feel like they can be accepted by society, and to feel like, maybe there's something to prove, because essentially it's covering up insecurities, maybe from childhood wounds, limiting beliefs, stories that we got from our childhood. And I, having grown up very masculine, I can relate with a lot of men in that I don't feel good about myself if I'm not working out. I don't feel good about myself. And not to say that there's a place for working out, but what's the energy behind it? What's the intention behind it? Because if it's to get attention from the opposite sex, if it's to prove something even to yourself, there is still an energy of it's coming from a place of lack and not enoughness. So when we start to do the work and start to heal around the returning home and the healthy ocean, expressing and then coming back into ourselves and feeling ourselves and looking at ourselves and knowing ourselves and then expressing who we are, that's the health. That's the wholeness. That's like, I don't need anyone's approval. I don't need to go, fit in with the trends and fit in with society. And it's pretty much like a dog chasing its tail and getting nowhere. It's you playing out old stories of I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I need more. I need more muscles. I need more cars. I need more money. I need to fit in. I need to get this new outfit. I need the new Lulu. And it's sad. That's a sad, to me, it makes me want to cry, because to be in that cycle and to have forgotten that you have been, you always will be, and you already are so perfect and divine and worthy and whole. You don't need to chase anything. You don't need to prove anything. You already are capable of anything that you want to do, and you don't need to keep playing out this story of not enoughness and I'll prove it to them. There's nothing to prove, because you've already been it. You've already been whole. You've been born whole the whole time. You just have to unravel and peel back the stories from school, from bowling, from your parents, from religion, saying otherwise, you thinking otherwise, you building up a mechanism, believing otherwise. Because if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, into your eyeballs, and say, I fucking love you, you're absolutely perfect, then there's some work to be done, because that's the truth. That's the highest truth. You are no different from God. God is running through you. Always have, always will, and is right now. So if this message resonates with you at all, then you're tapped into this universal truth that you are perfect as is. You have nothing to prove. Just have been doing some introspective and deep work on myself, and this is just one of the realizations that's really come to me is, man, I'm just looking at working out in such a different light. In the sense that I'm working out selfishly because I love my body, I love my temple, I love this vessel that is housing my spirit. And so I'm going to move it, and it does make me feel so good, but I'm not doing it for anyone except for me.